rolling.
We are rolling.
We are rolling.
Literally, we're rolling.
We're rolling around, and we are in the Sillies. Unfortunately, our next door neighbour, by chance, is Ellie Jackson, who has written these books for children, which we have all of for the girls. So I'm very, very happy that we have Ellie here for a little chat, and we're just going to chat about the Wild Tribe hero books.
That was
and
very
everything that
fortuitous
you've done.
being
I
next door
know.
neighbours, and our boat's called Bumblebee, which was also great when we bought it. It ties in with my last book about bees.
Siggy's Frightening Flight, and we
Yeah.
had this on the boat from last summer. It was all the girls could just bring in a couple of books that would stay on the boat, and Molly chose.
And that was one of them. Oh, that's good to know.
I know.
Oh, thank you, Molly.
She's a fan. So I would just love to know a little bit about why you started to write these books, and because the effect for my children has been wonderful.
Brilliant.
It just talking about quite difficult subjects, but in a real palatable way. So, how did you start writing them, and do you
Yes.
have plans for more? Because we need
Definitely,
more.
I definitely have plans for more. There's loads. Unfortunately, with the environment, there's always so many different issues that you couldn't think about. But it started for me with my children. So you said your children are inspired, my children were inspired, and they in turn inspired me. So it all started on an island off the coast of Australia in the Great Barrier Reef, and we lived there for a year. We had 3 little children, and we went down to our local beach, and it was all this big kind of hive of activity, and it was a turtle being released. So we stood there in the crowds, and we stood in the sea waiting for the turtle to be released, and they carried her down, and her flippers hit the sand, and just like in the book, if anyone's read it, Duffy was off and she was disappeared and she'd swum away, and the whole crowd was cheering, and it was this really pivotal moment. Obviously I didn't realise it at the time, but I was crying, like you think of what this animal had gone through, and finally she was back to her home. But it had such an impact on my daughter, and she said, "Mummy, what was wrong with Duffy?" And so we went to the turtle hospital on the mainland and found out all about the problem with plastic, and she was age 4 at the time. And next time we went to the beach, she was picking up all the plastic. "Mummy, I'm saving a turtle." And in her little brain at 4, every piece saved was a life saved. So we couldn't leave the beach until we brought everything home. So that sparked in me, what a simple little message and a lovely story with a happy ending, this turtle being released. And that's, that was 6 years ago now. So I've now got 7 books in the series, and I think that first book's reached about 2 million children all around the world. So I'm really happy that we've got these next generation of children learning about how to look after their animals and save the planet.
Had you written before, or was it
I
the
had
first
written
time you'd
before.
written? So
No,
you
I
had
had.
written stuff.
And I sent them off to the publishers, and they'd been rejected. So I'd sent them off. My first story, it was all about an animal rescue again. I didn't realise it. But when I was 20, and after that I stopped writing. 'Cause you feel dejected, this is your work, you put all this passion into this book and you think it's brilliant, and then someone tells you it's not. So I thought I'm going to do this all myself this time. So I self-published, and I just was in the right place at the right time with Blue Planet 2 just being released, and the whole kind of issue of plastics took off, and it was very much in the media. So I was very lucky to have a really good book at the right place in the right time.
And you've also got the puffin one.
Yes.
So we haven't seen any puffins yet. Fingers crossed that we will over here. But the puffin one, I think that was the second one we got.
Yes.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Was that based? It wasn't based out here.
No,
necessarily,
it wasn't based here. It was based on an island off the coast of Wales. We went to holiday there as children, and so I remembered the scenery, and I can remember all the. So when I'm writing a story, I have to make it as realistic as possible, and I always like to make sure it's based around a real place and a real animal and a real issue. So I think that's what makes the books different from a lot of the other books out there, because they're all true stories. So I think the children really appreciate that. Told in a gentle way. There's nothing there that's going to upset them. The books are there to kind of inspire, and right, what can we do to help? Let's help save Duffy the turtle. Let's help save Nelson the whale. And it puts the issue into context for little children. So then the parents can have the conversations, and the schools can get on board, and then the whole community. So,
which I really like as well, because especially you've got what you can do at the end of them. And it's kind of what we're trying to do as well with the films that we're making. We're trying to give some ideas about how anybody can help in any way, shape or form. It can be a very small thing, or it can be a larger thing. People will hopefully be inspired to do even more. But that's really key, isn't it? Giving ideas and just solutions and just ideas about how people can actually do something, because it's so worrying, and it's extremely worrying. But especially for younger children, and these books are kind of, well, I mean, Isla still reads them, so it's up to
age 10, 11, primary school age, basically. And even younger, you know, my daughter was just learnt to walk, and she went and picked up her first piece of rubbish. It sounds really sad. I was more proud of her doing her first litter pick than her first steps. And she picked up the piece of rubbish, and she was 17 months old, and she said, "Mummy, Bubbish," because she couldn't say rubbish, "Mummy, Bubbish, bin, Duffy." And so she knew at that age,
gone in.
Rubbish has to go in the bin.
And that's why it's really important to educate when they're really, really young. And just the messages, you don't realise how much they're actually taking in and how important it is for the rest of their lives.
Definitely. And I also think you then got the children inspiring the adults. "Oh, Mummy, we need to be recycling. Daddy, we need to turn the lights off," or whatever it might be. Don't throw the rubbish out of the car to help save the animals. So when you've got your own children kind of pushing you on to make those little changes, and I think it is an overwhelming subject. The whole thing can get pretty confronting at times when you see the distressing images, and that's what we don't want to show our young children. That's too much of a leap for them. So by a gentle story, a happy ending, ideas for the future, things that they can do, so it ends on a positive note, and you don't want them to be feeling without hope at that age. So it's really important to give those ideas.
Do you have another book coming out soon?
Yes, I do. I have one about seal and seal disturbance. So we know now that we need to keep our distance from the seals. They get stressed and upset if we go too close. So I'm trying to introduce that concept to children to give seals space. And then I've also got another one about air pollution. But I just need to think of the animal. I'm thinking of fox or maybe a hedgehog. Any ideas? What do you think?